Hey everybody, this is Sheets, and we're going to be going over the Monday Night Football Showdown slate this evening. Hope everybody had a good weekend. We're continuing on with a big array of sports. We have football today. We have all kinds of football and basketball on Christmas Day. We have Boxing Day, EPL. Then we have Friday, NFL. We have a one-gamer there. Then we have Saturday, a couple of games, Sunday. I mean, just all kinds of wonderful opportunities to lose money in Showdown. I'm sorry, I meant all kinds of wonderful opportunities to win money in Showdown, or at the very least, all wonderful opportunities to learn about how to apply to Showdown. I am officially negative from COVID finally. That. So maybe a refreshed brain will get us to the right idea for today's showdown slate between Green Bay and New Orleans. So we're just basically gonna, kibitz about some of these players, talk about some of the possible hoodoos that we can play, and then we're gonna build some using SaberSim. Let me share the screen with you. And so we have a 28-14 projected game score here. It's a 14-point favorite, and not exactly, a shootout type of blowout either. Like, it doesn't project to be one of those 38-21 blowouts. Really, it's the 28-14 variety is a little less fantasy friendly. So, what you're gonna have here. I mean, before I even looked, you're gonna have probably Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs with probably projections 6 points higher than everybody else, at least. You're also going to have a game script which is very conducive to playing stuff like Green Bay defense, Josh Jacobs, and Jordan Love with at least one receiver, maybe two, and with like one run back from New Orleans. So you think that the one run back from New Orleans, which most people will play, I don't know. Good question. Maybe the quarterback, because Rattler can run the ball a little bit. Who else could be a decent run back? Well, it depends on price, obviously, what you can get to, but maybe Juwan Johnson, maybe one of these running backs, although we don't know exactly which one we would want to play, and we're going to get into that. So, like, for example, we'll take a look at the projections in Flex. So in Flex, you have mine on the right, and then your SaberSim's over here. We just look at it by projection. Yeah, as I imagine, you have Josh Jacobs is 4 points higher than Jordan Love, who's 4 points or 5 points higher than the next one. So that's tough. It's tough. Now, again, if you want to try to win the Millie Maker, with whatever you call it, making you 300,000, you want to try to win it yourself. You can't play both these guys. Just pretty much that's those two, unless you really, I don't know what combination you could do that's going to be low enough owned that has even a slight chance if you play both of them. Well, we'll see. So then, I guess really what it really becomes is what to play below, right? Because you have Country Miller, who's a little bit higher than Rattler, who's a little bit sort of the same as Reed, a little bit higher than. There's no like real big gap down. See that? Like there's 9, 8, 8, 7, 7, 6. Because I guess this is that first big gap down is a full 2 points, I guess, between Valdez-Scantling and Rupi. So that would be nice if you could avoid going down to the kicker, I guess. I also don't believe that the kicker is going to be particularly in play for New Orleans. Um, so then, if you want to pick from all these hoodoos, again, there's really no gap in projection. You just all these guys look very similar. So let's talk about this a little bit. All right. All right. So Green Bay is expected to romp here. So Josh Jacobs fits everything. You know what I mean? Like, get the ball, he's probably going to score. He gets all the work. What you could say is that there's some degree of blowout risk. If they're up 21-0 or whatever, or maybe not 21-0, it's like 28-0 somehow. And Jordan Love got 4 touchdown passes to other people except for Josh Jacobs, then they might shut Jacobs down. They're going to the playoffs, right? Why risk it? Hey, what's up, Joanne? So that's the fade angle for Josh Jacobs, really. Except if he gets injured. You know what I mean? Like, if he doesn't get injured, his bust path is going to be not needing him in like the third and fourth quarter. So maybe you build lineups if you want with Max. This is pretty risky, because they're probably both going to get there. But you want to build lineups with both with Max 1, Jacobs or Love. That already is getting you different, and I think that makes sense. Because Love, the way he doesn't get there is if he doesn't get a lot of passing touchdowns, right? I don't think that he's going to be running going to need to run all that much. So the way he doesn't get passing touchdowns is, Josh Jacobs getting rushing touchdowns. So, yeah. So I think that right off the bat, if you want something fun to do, it's going to be different. You play Max 1, Josh Jacobs and Jordan Love. You're going to cost yourself like all kinds of projection equity by doing that. But I think game script wise, I think it makes sense. And I'm not completely convinced that even the SaberSim game sims will get to that idea. Okay. Next thing to talk about are the running backs. So the running backs for New Orleans, you have, on the one hand, you have Kendre Miller, who is, allegedly the running back 1. However, according to the coaches, it's going to be kind of running back by committee. So if that's the case, what are you doing playing a $9,400 Kendre Miller? Okay. Now you got to believe this, but other running backs you can play here, you're going to start with Jamal Williams, who is one of 2 very much in play Saints who are traveling back to Green Bay. Now, here's the one thing: revenge only works when you have the talent to do it. But if you think that they might give Jamal Williams more run because, I don't know, maybe he's familiar with the defense, having played there, or familiar with the stadium in some way, I don't know, then I think 3,600 is going to look pretty good for him. And then the other running back, there are 2 more listed here. One is Jordan Mims, and the other one is Adam Prentice. I will tell you that I think that you almost have to take some shots at Jordan Mims here. If you in big, in huge fields, just because if this game, even if the game doesn't get out of hand, if they're looking for anything, and these other 2 are not working out somehow, then he's going to get a couple. So who knows? I'm not going to get to him in 20 max or anything like that, but in the lotteries, I'm probably going to get there. Jamal Williams, Joanne, to your point, Joanne, yeah. better. Okay, sure. But as we know with running backs, it's not a game of who's better. It's a game of who gets the opportunity. But I'm with you. I mean, I think 3,600. I don't know if you're even saying the same thing I'm saying, but I think 3,600 is just a very fair price for Jamal Williams, given everything that I've said. Not to mention, I think the Saberson projection is very light at 1.78. I think that I'm a little bit better on this one. So that's one thing. Yeah, well, I saw your take, D-Pope, and I think I addressed it. I think that's those are three guys that are going to be obviously in play. As far as captaining defense, well, we'll get to that. So that's the first thing is the running backs. Second thing, let's take a look at like the Green Bay running backs for openers. All right, so we have Josh Jacobs. So question, if you want to play this blowout angle and, you think that Josh Jacobs isn't going to get there because they won't use him in the third or fourth quarter all that much, who are they going to use? Well, you got two possibilities, and each of them project the same pretty much. Chris Brooks and Emmanuel Wilson. So I would consider, I would play some of these guys in MME as well. Now, I would not play Josh Jacobs with Chris Brooks, and I would not play Josh Jacobs with Emmanuel Wilson, and I would not play Chris Brooks and Emmanuel Wilson together. But I definitely, listen, these are the only two guys. And so if, in fact, Jacobs is not going to be needed in third or fourth quarter, then these are the guys you want to play. So I think you have to play them. But I would either make a rule manually, which is something I don't like to do, that reflects what I just said, or just kind of you could also cherry pick the lineups that don't have the two of them together to play. Okay, so those are kind of blowout angle plays. What about just like the first half? What are these teams going to try to do? Well, I mean, as I mentioned, let's do New Orleans first. Look at New Orleans first. Listen, the good thing about football and every sport is that every game starts the same. Right? Every game starts at 0-0. And every team comes out thinking that they're going to win, or they at least have a chance to win. You don't have to adjust to score. You don't have to do anything at the beginning of the game. So what is New Orleans going to do? Like, Green Bay wins the toss. They elect to defer. Crowd's going nuts. At home, Lambeau Field, kick away. New Orleans gets the ball and comes out to the 30. Spencer Rattler comes out. What are they going to do? Well, I think that if you're really going to try to win, listen, you try to establish the run, I guess. Okay, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just kind of let Rattler just kind of roll a little bit. Like you drop him back and look for some guys. If they can't find him, he's going to take off. And for that reason, I think that Rattler. And again, I'm not saying anything earth-shattering here, but I think Rattler is where you really should start with your floor, on New Orleans, because that rushing upside exists. Green Bay is going to be bringing heat. When teams bring heat, it helps two things. It helps the defense and it helps the quarterback, right? Because quarterback is can scramble out of there sometimes. So who's he going to throw it to, right? If he's out there. So now is where the crapshoot comes in. So the guy that people are probably most comfortable with is the Juwan Johnson because he's been there. You rely on him, whatever it is. And his projection is only 8. Okay, 27% projected ownership, whatever. And then we have other guys. So let's start with obviously the fun play, and that's Marquez Valdes-Scantling, another one who's going back to Green Bay. Again, really doesn't mean anything. Okay, he was going to run his routes whether he was in Green Bay or not. And I don't even think the same guys there are defensive backs there that was when he was on the team. So It's not as if there's any particular knowledge. And it's not as if they're in a position to like say, I'm MVS, you must give me the ball. They're fighting to survive this game. It's not like, let's just feed Valdez-Scantling because going back to Green Bay. However, he's one of the receiving core. Right? And then you have Kevin Austin. He's part of the receiving core. And then you have like some really random, so not randoms, but you have Dante Pettis, who I didn't even know he was still in the league. So he's in there. So you have Valdez-Scantling, Austin, Pettis, and then Cedric Wilson, right? So if I had to guess, you know what I mean? Like, I would say that Valdez-Scantling is probably get the most targets. And then I would split up the other three, right, between Cedric Wilson, Austin, and Pettis. But if I had to prioritize which one I think would get, if I were Spencer Rattler, I think Cedric Wilson would be the guy. Like either him or Austin. I know Pettis is back, but I don't know if Pettis is the idea here. I would rather take a little bit of an ownership discount and play Wilson, I think, than Pettis. Okay. And then, as I mentioned, Juwan Johnson. He might even be considered a wide receiver too in this spot. So you might think it's actually Valdez-Scantling and Johnson, and then everybody else. So because of that, maybe again you can make a rule that you only want one of those three. Those three being Austin, Pettis, and Wilson. It's just going to be hard with a 14-point total with, not bad, but a quarterback that's not exactly the greatest. It's going to be really tough for, you to get two from wide receiver 3, 4, 5 on a team like that, enough points. So I would probably make sure to get only one of those. Other guys that I didn't mention was Mason Tipton. I want to throw one lineup in with him. It's fine. You can't have everybody. Okay? All right. Going to Green Bay. Finally get to play, talking about decent players. So you have all three of, he could, Pettis. Certainly could. You have three guys from the Packers who all project the same. Pretty much, right? 11. There's no, listen, in the wide receiver world, there's no difference between 11.5, 10.9, and 10.2. It's all the same. So I suppose, Christian Watson's the best play because he's the cheapest of all three of them. All right, fair enough. But I don't think you can distinguish between these three. I mean, I don't. If you're playing one lineup or whatever, you have to. And by the way, to your point, Joanne, I didn't address the Foster Moreau. Again, it's fine. It's the backup tight end. It's really getting to the bottom of the barrel. But in Showdown, that's what you need. Now, again, I probably wouldn't play both of those guys together, Juwan Johnson and Foster Moreau. Probably might include Foster Moreau in those other guys, honestly. So you think it's a read by far? I don't know. As far as you think it's going to be the lowest owned, you think so? I don't know. I have them all the same there, too. I have Reed at 29, Watson at 29, and I actually have Dobbs as the lowest owned. But it'll be really close. Okay. We didn't even talk about who to put in the captain yet. We're just talking about plays for a minute. So Reed, Watson, Dobbs. I think you can play two of these three together because it's certainly feasible that he spreads it around and gets it to two, gets one to each of them. You want to play all three? That's hard, first of all. I think I might be asking for it a little bit. Remember, these are going to be lineups maybe without just Josh Jacobs. So if you did that, you played like Jordan Love and then you get really lucky and get the exact. Well, how hard is that to get all three of those tight end touchdowns with those three exact people? That's hard. That's hard. So tight ends is a little interesting because I think that they're going to be activating. Maybe it's not listed here yet, but I thought they were activating Musgrave off of the IR. I mean, right now it says out. I mean, we'll know that later, but we got to keep an eye on that one. I mean, if Luke Musgrave is activated, I mean, a couple of things happen. I mean, number one is I don't have to play Ben Sims or John Fitzpatrick, and the other thing is I might actually want to play some Musgrave. He certainly, if he was active, would take some snaps away from Tucker Kraft. Why is Wicks out of the rotation? This is the problem, man. You got 4 legit receivers here, not to mention Kraft. I mean, you got 5 guys who can catch the ball. That's why it's always tough playing Green Bay in fantasy. You just don't know where it's going. Obviously, the kicker for Green Bay is in play. Obviously, the defense for Green Bay is in play. With respect to who you stick in the captain position, I mean, I'm just looking at the ownership over here. I see 33% captain ownership for Josh Jacobs, and then 17 for Love, and then a huge drop to everybody else. And then you have the top receivers, Reed, Watson, and Dobbs, right? Then Packers D, but only 5%. Tucker Kraft, McManus, Wicks. I don't know why I think this that Wicks captain might be like uber sneaky at 0.7% ownership. I don't know about any of this. Is Wicks like really just like out of the rotation completely? Maybe. I might end up doing it though. I don't think I'm getting to the Bo Melton. You know, I'm not. See, the thing is with the super duper backups, like if it gets to garbage time, they're not going to be passing anyway. I think the only guys that get the backup run are going to be the running backs, which would be Brooks and Wilson. So I guess that's pretty much all I have to say, except for the fact that you're probably going to end up either leaving money on the table by force or by not by force, which means is that I probably wouldn't do it on purpose. I would just kind of let the pricing do what it does, you know. So, like for example, let's do it. So we already uploaded the projections, right? So let's build these things and see what we get. What do you think? Like, how much do you think of? I'll let you guys guess, right? How much do you think of the? Put this over here so you can't see it, right? How much of in the captain do you think that we get Josh Jacobs? Well, let's see. Josh Jacobs, we would be getting. It doesn't say over here. Oh, 68% Josh Jacobs, 12% Jordan Love, and then less than 2% of anybody else. Now, what that is doing, that is sorting by Saber score, which is not particularly known to be particularly aggressive in Showdown. Okay, I imagine in Flex, I mean, pretty much whatever Jordan Love you don't have in captain, you have him in Flex, and the same with Josh Jacobs and all these guys that we talked about. So I'm curious to see though what happens when we. So what this means is that if Josh Jacobs 68% in the captain, 28%, they have 96% owned total. Well, in my lineups, I would have 96% of them. And Jordan Love, 77% in the flex, and 12% in the captain. That's like almost 90% of my lives would have them. So when I make my rule, if I decide to do it, that I only want max one of them, I'm really just not getting what I'm supposed to be getting. But I might do it anyway. All right, here we go. Let's run the Sims. Let's see if that can get us at least something remotely unique, different, whatever. Let's see. All right. So this is why I'm into SaberSim now. So when we ran the Sims, check out how much Josh Jacobs ownership we got in the captain. Let's go. See, this is what I'm talking about. I'm telling you, the Sims have gotten very, very feisty this season with Showdown. I've been saying that. Very feisty indeed. Getting 0.7% Jacobs captain, but then 20% Love, and then all these receivers showing up here. I love it. Now, how much do we get for captain over? Oh, look at this. And how much Josh Jacobs do you get in the flex? Look at that. Look at that number. Can anybody see that? I can't see what that says. In the words of Dean Wormer describing the grade point average of Blutarski or Bluto, 0.0. Gotta love it. So what this does, this whole sim, you know what this did? This sim built a Love passing heavy game script, right? Because it gave me 79% Love in the flex, 21% in the captain pretty much, so 100% own Love. Okay? 100% own Love, and all of the receivers everywhere. All the Green Bay receivers, including, excuse me, all of the Green Bay receivers in the captain as well. The only thing that didn't do is so it did not really build like a Josh Jacobs getting injured game script because it didn't have the Chris Brooks and Emmanuel Wilson in it. But it certainly built the game script with Jordan Love passing. So if in fact I felt like doing this, which I might just go like this, fire it away. And you know what's beautiful about this? You know what you have to root for in that game script? You know what you have to root for? You have to root against one player. I mean, really. Imagine that. All these people are rooting so much to happen. I really only need to root for one thing. Like if Josh Jacobs does not do well, there's another way that Josh Jacobs doesn't do well, which would be if the Saints are really good. And somehow just bottle them up. So, and listen, you're saying it will not work. Yeah, I mean, I don't need it to work all the time. I just need it to work some of the time. It's like, so that, listen, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just showing you what we did. And you saw what I put in there, right? He projected 20, 5 points higher than everybody else. And when I ran it without simming it, I was getting like a whole ton of it, but then you just ran those sims and boop. Now, I will say the other thing that's going to happen, by the way. I feel as though a lot of people are going to do what I did and run sims, and as a result, and this is kind of the way, it's cool the way GTO works, is that I think Jacobs is actually going to be a little lower because of that. Although maybe people just like react the way you did, Depot, right off the bat. Just, whoa, that's just not going to work. It probably isn't going to work. But if enough people don't think it's going to work, then yeah, I get you, Depot. You know what? I don't blame you. You put, like you say, put Packers in the D, Packers in the captain, Jacobs, and you got an opinion on Reed being the best one? That's fine. Whatever. Pick your favorite, I guess. And then just shuffle the rest? Sure, why not? Now, if you do this, by the way, you don't have to make any rules. I mean, I promise. If you take this kind of stand and play 0 Josh Jacobs, and you lose because you were stingy about the rules, then there's something wrong with you. You know? Okay, you know what? That, I guess, is going to do it. I'm going to be back. I'm going to be online at 6. I'm going to be doing NBA and NHL for sure. And probably going to do some more of the NFL also. I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to do the football real quick. Now we'll do it later. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks for coming. It's good to see you again, Joanne. Good to see you, D-Pope, as usual. Good to see everybody.